Pete's Dragon, directed by Don Chaffee, and it's starring Helen Reddy, Sean Marshall, and Mickey Rooney, also featuring Red Buttons, Jim Dale, and Jim Backus. So first of all, I want to say how weird it is that Don Chaffee is directing this, because I looked into his filmography, and he directs MacGyver, T.J. Hooker, and Charlie's Angels. So that's a little weird, but he did a good job. I'm not going to say one bad thing about this movie. It holds sentimental value, personal sentimental value completely. I watched it since I was a little girl. Absolutely love it. So basically, this movie is about this orphan boy named Pete that is befriended by this magical dragon, and he's running away from his abusive adoptive family. This score is the best part of it, which makes sense because it's a classic Disney musical with the classic musical dance moves, like the head shake and everything, and this. It's great. It's absolutely great. The opening scene plays Happiest Home in These Hills, and I'm rewatching it after years from watching it, and I never noticed these lyrics. These are horrible people that adopted poor Pete.
Gonna paw him, claw him, saw him in half. When he cries out for mercy, we'll just laugh. Beat him, heat him, eat him for dessert, yeah! Roast him gently so the flames won't hurt!
What? This poor boy, like, of course he's running away. He comes across this lovable drunk played by Mickey Rooney, and I absolutely love Mickey Rooney. If you don't know him from Pete's Dragon, you probably know him from maybe Breakfast at Tiffany's. He was the voice of Kris Kringle in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and if you have not seen Santa Claus is Coming to Town, I am so sorry. You had a horrible childhood, and you need to watch that. It's great. It's the claymation, old movie. It's awesome. So after Mickey Rooney, which is Lamb Pie, sees this dragon, he runs back into the tavern and enters the best scene of the whole entire movie. It is the greatest. He's belligerent. You can't understand what he's saying. He's taking a drink out of everybody's drink. And they're like, spit it out. And they knock him. He's like, a dragon, and it goes into the song.
A dragon, I swear I saw a dragon. A green and seething, fire-breathing monster is in sight.
And then there's a clever way to introduce his daughter, played by Helen Reddy. She is Nora. And she pops in. She's like, has anybody seen my father? And then he tells her about the dragon. And then she's just irritated with all the other drunks. And she's on the bar and kicking all their cups. And then there's this one part to where she is on this barrel of beer. And I looked for the strings to hold her up, and I could not see them. In older movies like this, if you look hard enough, you can see the strings that are holding them up. I don't want to ruin it for you, but you can see the strings that's holding Pete up when he's on the dragon and all of this stuff. But I don't think she was being held up, which is so impressive because she had these big heels on and she's walking on this barrel of beer. Amazing scene. Great. And I think that is the first film party in history. Bet my money on it. So this movie has taken place in Passamaquoddy. That is quite the mouthful. And it's actually not a town at all. It was built on a back lot of the studio. And even in the later scene when the adoptive family finds Pete and they're chasing after him in this harbor, that's built as well, which I think is really, really cool. And it's a very disturbing song because they're talking about a bill of receipt, that Pete is their property like their cow.
That boy is our property, same as the family cow. 'Cause we got a bill of sale right here, and we're gonna take him now.
It's so horrible. Poor Pete. And it's really crazy to watch as an adult because all of these things are coming to, like, oh my gosh, you didn't notice this, you didn't notice that, which brings me to Dr. Terminus, played by Jim Dale, which is a more well-known English actor, but he is a narrator for several Harry Potter games, which is kind of random and cool, and his sidekick is played by Red Buttons, Hoagie. If you've never heard of Red Buttons, I'm so sorry. He's a well-known comedian back in the day. He stars in one of my favorite movies called Atari, which is a John Wayne movie. Amazing. Check that one out as well. So basically, Dr. Terminus and Hoagie roll back into Passamaquoddy. Passamaquoddy is really, really hard to say for Dr. Terminus. They already know him because he previously tried to scam them with these medicines that can grow your hair back or make you slim.
I took your drugs for losing weight and now I'm a blob!
But now that there's so much more of you to love.
So, like I had said before, Pete tries to tell Elliot the dragon to be cool, we want this town to like us. That goes all haywire, and the town is just literally, there's a mob running after Pete. Poor Pete. So he runs out of town. He finds this cave down by the beach, and he's hiding out in there, which is by this lighthouse where Nora and Lampai live. And Nora sees him walk down there, and she goes down there, and that's how her and Pete meet. And she's so motherly and loving. It's really, really sweet. And she's a very good inspiration as a mother myself, because my son will come home from school and be like, hey, Mama B, I did this backflip over this rail at school. And I'm just like, that sounds like a tall tale. But Pete's here talking about this dragon, and she's like, oh, what does this dragon look like? Which leads into this really cute duet with the both of them, that how Elliot has the head of a camel, the neck of a crocodile, and she just really listens to her story in a loving way, and it's really touching. And then she goes on to sing Candle on the Water, which is probably one of the more well-known songs in this movie.
I'll be your candle on the water. My love for you will always burn.
So Nora ends up taking in Pete and is very loving towards him and says, you know what, we'll figure out what we're going to do about this later. You stay here. And she goes out and buys him new clothes and takes him to school. And poor Pete, he just cannot catch a break. He's minding his own business in class, and Elliot is ringing the bell outside. So this teacher, which is not a very nice teacher at all, is like, what's going on? She's like, oh, it's my dragon. She's like, dragon? Dragon wagon? And all of this. So he goes out and makes him seem like he's ringing the bell, and she whips him on the hand, puts a dunce hat, those cones, like those old school cones, and Elliot is very protective over Pete, which I absolutely love that side of his character. And poor Pete, I mean, he's very mature for his age, and he's like, Elliot, no, this is not how we should handle this. And he's like, I'll show you how we should handle this. Completely breaks through the school, and you can see like his complete shape through the school wall, and breaks out, and shows up the teacher, by the way. She is freaked out, and she has nothing left to say. But then that's how Dr. Terminus and Hoagie know that there is a dragon. And they are basically these herbalists or alchemists, I guess you would say, that they're thinking, oh, a dragon, we can make a cream out of his cartilage and something out of his bones. So now they're on this mission to get Pete and his dragon. And again, just Pete can't catch a break. This poor kid, he's a very sweet kid. And so now he has not only his adoptive family after him, he has Dr. Terminus and Hoagie after him. And then Dr. Terminus puts Hoagie on a mission to go find Pete's dragon. And Hoagie comes across Lampai in the tavern. And they drink their little hearts away. And Lampai is like, yeah, there's a dragon. I will show you where the dragon is. And like I said earlier, Red Buttons is a very well-known comedian, as well as Mickey Rooney. So they have this drunken scene where they're coming up into the cave, and actually it took several takes because they kept trying to outdo each other. Like the first take was like 20 minutes, like okay, we can't have this long, so the second take was like 10. Finally, they got it down to about 5 minutes because they kept trying to outdo each other. Come across Elliot, and again with Elliot's character, he is just adorable because Lampai and Hoagie come in and they're talking about this big monster, and Elliot doesn't know that they're talking about him, and so he's all scared and innocent, and eventually Dr. Terminus knows how to get Elliot because he teams up with the horrible abusive family and basically use Pete as bait. We wouldn't have the movies that we have today if it wasn't for movies like Pete's Dragon or Mary Poppins or Parent Trap. It really started this big evolutionary way of doing films and having not only like that real life and the animation, but even opening credits for a movie where you have the title. Those things like that are because of movies like Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon, I give a 5 out of 5, not only because it has sentimental value to me, but I appreciate it because it was so revolutionary for its time. And with the new movie coming out next week, it's just really great to watch the original and kind of compare the two. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe and be on the lookout for my review for the new Pete's Dragon. And it says everything that we're thinking and just don't feel like we can say. So
I had a lot of fun with this movie. This movie was really, really entertaining. The whole cast seemed to be